Hi guys, welcome back. Eric's UK here with the third part of my Pathfinder game chronicles. Yesterday, or rather last night, we didn't get an awful lot done, to be fair. Mainly I think because we've just had a sun heat wave dumped on us, and I don't think anyone was really in kind of the mood. But we finished off the scenario they were doing. Interestingly enough, where we left off was just before they found the room with Gabriel's character background portrait on the wall, which showed a small town or a village and babies being carted off in the mouths of manticores, sorry. And this familiar shadowy eyed figure in the background, which was quite cool because the player in question had come up with this idea over the last week of his, as a child, he basically was thinking of the like child soldiers of Africa, where these war bands would come in and they'd basically slaughter everyone, take the children, chain them up to these soldiers and send them off to fight, sort of thing. And that's basically what he's done with his character. He has decided that he was taken from his village by a band called the Chalaxian Manticores, and once he got into his teens what had actually happened, he murdered the war chief and then basically fled as far away as possible, which is where he's wound up where he is. From that, and this is quite interesting because so far they've kind of breezed through every encounter they had, which is, as to be expected at this sort of level. They don't want to throw too much in. And then they got themselves caught in a room. A portcullis came down, giant scorpion attacked, and that was it. Within 2 rounds, I had 2 unconscious characters, the 2 fighter types. And if it hadn't been for an absolutely fantastic critical hit by Valerius, the elf ranger, they might have all gone down. But he managed to do a critical hit which actually took it down to exactly what they needed to kill it, which is spot on. At which point they encountered the cleric or priestess behind all this, a servant of the god Zon-Kuthon. And she really surprised them because she just turned around and she healed the 2 unconscious characters and said that the belly's through here, the item, the relic you're looking for, it's yours, take it back, and I hand myself over as the thief. Which really threw them. I kind of tried to fathom out what their reactions might be, and I had the idea that one of them might want to kill her because she is a servant of an evil god. A few others might want to basically lock her in the irons, take her back and have her punished. And they did the one thing I didn't think they would do, which was basically they said, well, you've given it back, we don't know what your game is, so we're just going to let you go. So they collected the bell and the priestess escorted them out. They basically learnt that they had been manipulated their entire lives, possibly even before that, by her master, presumably this herald figure that they've been seeing in the paintings. But she doesn't know why, because such things are not for mortals to know. And she escorted them out, and promptly the building with her disappeared and faded away. This was a reaction I wasn't expecting. Because she offered herself up, put me in chains, and they didn't do it. They just took her away. They just took the bell and went away. They got back to town. They'd also found, while I think about it, basically the clerics of Zon-Kuthon had found in a nearby basilisk lair a statue of a warrior who had been stoned, and they basically grabbed that and stuck it in the dungeon, hoping to scare the characters. And they picked this guy up before they left and took him home, knowing when the bell rung in a few days' time, it was actually going to restore him, which was kind of bonus points for them, I think. I hadn't considered them doing that. Those are only first level at this particular point. And so a couple of days later the bell was rung, and after they determined that it was non-corrupted and was the right thing, and all these pilgrims and the stoned guy and the characters who had lost stats due to the poison from the scorpion all healed. So I decided at this point we had 2 scenarios, guys can all level up. So they all levelled in their respective classes, except for the player Valerius, who also decided to take a level of rogue, since that was what the party was missing. I had one small problem during the session, which I've kind of bring up here. I don't know whether you guys get this, but I had like complete mental shutdown. For some reason, I think I mentioned this before, I keep wanting to call Gabriel Gideon, and I don't know why. But Valerius, at least 3 times without thinking, I called him Valerie. And I don't know why, and it was really beginning to annoy me. But I guess everybody has days like that. The heat and everything else as well just kind of frazzled my brain, I think. So they levelled up, and basically the next scenario I hadn't had time to finish, although I had 2 weeks. Various other things, including a little bit of apathy, I think, on my part. Not because of the game, but in general, kind of. I didn't get enough of it done. But that's fine, because the players, as they seem to have done in the last session, actually managed to get themselves into it. I've basically decided that I'm running a redo of the Keep on the Borderlands / Caves of Chaos module, and they've been approached while they're in the town of Nybor by the mayor's assistant for a town which lies about 10 miles north on the side of the lake, a place called Greykeep, which has, over the last few months, been attacked by an evil warrior named Warduke. Some of you whose history in D&D and stuff goes back may remember that name. And basically he's tried to attack the town on a couple of occasions with a band of humanoids. They failed to breach the walls, and then for some reason recently Warduke himself has vanished, and the humanoids keep attacking in small bands. Now I wrote a fairly lengthy bit of what happens if the characters learn who he is. I put it in as a knowledge local, and if they asked anybody. None of the characters got knowledge local, and they didn't bother to ask anybody, so it seemed like a fair bit of information, right, good background information, but they didn't pick up on any of it. But hopefully they might do somewhere down the line, because I'd like to tie this together with another scenario later on, and it might help them if they knew something in advance. But anyway, so they've agreed to go, and they have convinced their employer, Biznik, the merchant, who's never actually been to Greykeep, to basically go up there with them, possibly open a new trade site, as it were, or a new trading partner, and it kind of works out for him as well. Now, rather than jump straight into the dungeons, because I've been told about these various caves and that they believe they're of old Aslanti origin, and may well have been some kind of dungeon execution site where prisoners would be dropped in to basically fight monsters. Which will explain why there are a couple of big beasties in the heart of it. And rather than just charging there and off they go, they've decided, rather cleverly I think, and this also helps since I hadn't fully got enough prepared with the scenario, they've decided to basically, to start with, pretend to be a caravan on the road and see if they can get ambushed and thin the numbers of the humanoids in the caves, which I thought was a really good idea. So they have had a small fight and dealt with a number of hobgoblins, and they know that there are others because they came back in the morning and found that the site where they'd left their heads, unfortunately, the party had a bit of an argument. Valerius, who has his hatred of goblins and hobgoblins and all sorts of goblinoids, has basically lopped the heads off of these hobgoblins and stuck them on spikes as a warning. Well, it seems that that's been found and disturbed by normal goblins during the night, and that's basically where we ended it. So we didn't seem to get an awful lot done, but I think that was down to the heat and the fact that it's just kind of, we've had a lot of rain and cold weather lately, and then just suddenly a heat wave almost. It's kind of, I think, addled people a little bit, so we didn't get an awful lot done. But we did do just enough, I think, to fit the evening, and I've now got 2 weeks to finish writing up the Caves of Chaos and see where that takes us. But that's where that particular game is up to now. So look back in a couple of weeks for the next update. Until then, take care and good gaming.